Greetings, everyone. It's time for another episode before the paywall. It's Andrew.
Mm-hmm. It's Ben, and we have a few addendums actually for the last couple episodes, so we're going to
Oh,
spend some
yeah.
time on that before we go behind the paywall. So we'll start with some from last week before we go into the stuff for this week. So last week was the Almost Batman, and we covered all the actors who were almost Batman, but we left off a couple. So there was one of them who didn't even announce himself as almost being a Batman until after we released it. But there are these are other Batmen who are outside of the official live-action movies and TV shows that we covered in the podcast last week. So we didn't cover fan films, and the biggest Batman fan film was Batman Dead End from Sandy Colora. And it starred Clark Bartram as Batman, but he was not the first choice. One aspect I forgot to bring up in last week's episode was that the original choice was Sly Stallone. So,
Oh, man.
Thanks to our friend Gregoris for reminding us about Stallone, and I believe this collage here is from Ryan Unicomb, with images from the Behind the Mask documentary, which goes behind the scenes of that fan film. It's an 1.5-hour documentary about like an 8-minute fan film, but it's worth watching. But the director
Stallone
talks
was gonna
about
be in a fan film.
Yeah, and mind you, like this is not necessarily before fan films existed, but it was before it was like one of the major early internet fan films, and it's not from some random ass people who are just bored and want to put something together with Halloween costumes. It's from people who've worked in movies. You know, Sandy Colora is somebody who's worked on those movies, I believe, in terms of Alien and Predator. For those who haven't seen Batman Dead End, it's got Batman versus Joker, and it starts off as like a Batman versus Joker movie, but then very quickly goes into having Alien and Predator in it as well.
Yes, I remember this. I saw this way back in the day.
Yeah, in the early, I remember seeing all the praise for this and downloading this fan film through dial-up internet because this is 2003, and just waiting for maybe I don't know, maybe a couple hours to watch this because everyone was
Yeah.
saying this was the shit. And it was for 2003 when you didn't like the last Batman movie you ever saw in live action was Batman and Robin, and you're just dying for any sort of live action Batman content. It's not like now where he's like all over the place, but at this time, apparently the director's lawyer put him in touch with Stallone. Stallone invited him to his house, and Stallone, from a career perspective, was kind of on a downswing. He had not done Expendables yet, or the I guess the requels or the sequels of like Rocky Balboa and John Rambo yet. Like he hadn't gone up on that upswing yet. So he was just looking for other things. And according to the documentary, Stallone is actually a big Batman fan, according to one of the people in the
Yeah, that's
interviews.
cool.
And so he agreed to be in the role, and there are molds made of him with the cowl on, as you can see here. And the idea was to have him as Batman. And since that was appealing, Mark Hamill agreed to be the Joker in live action, provided that Stallone was Batman. So we could have had
Yeah.
Stallone as Batman and Mark Hamill as Joker in this fan film, which is insane to think about. But because of the fact it was a fan film, Stallone's reps were nervous about him being a part of this. Also it's like they don't have the rights to Batman. It's also like an untested director. It's not like a major director for like a major thing. Like they just thought that this was not going to work out. So Stallone pulled out, and when Stallone pulled out, Mark Hamill pulled out as well, since his main draw was working with Stallone as Batman. But man, that could have been interesting. But it does go into an interesting history with Stallone and Batman because that was 2003 when Dead End came out. In 2008, Frank Miller said that Stallone was his choice to play Batman if there was ever a Dark Knight Returns movie. Miller said, quote, just that mouth of his, the scowl, and the way it would look in a mask. I loved Rocky Balboa, this wounded warrior. That's what Batman is in Dark Knight Returns.
That's
So
awesome, dude. I can totally see it.
me too. Yeah, like I've seen some people criticize this, and I'm like, look, I probably couldn't really see Sly in the Rocky era as like a traditional Batman, but I can see him as the Dark Knight Returns Batman.
Yeah.
He's the older, grizzled, big dude version of it. Like that's something that I could definitely see. Even though like I've always had the reservation if they do a Dark Knight Returns movie, it just has more impact when it's an actor who's already played the role, just like with Batman Beyond. But I mean, I'd let it slide if it was Stallone, like I'd be okay with it. Um, I was actually kind of surprised too that Stallone was a big Batman fan because in 2010, around the time of the Expendables, Stallone blamed the decline of action heroes on Batman '89. Actually, he said, "quote The action movies changed radically when it became possible to Velcro your muscles on." So
That's interesting because they always talk about the '80s heroes
yeah.
being all jacked with Schwarzenegger and Van Damme, etc. Uh, and Dolph Lundgren, and everybody. So, man, yeah, that's wow. I never thought about that particular
Yeah.
influence.
Yeah, he said, quote, "It was the beginning of a new era. The visual took over. The special effects became more important than the single person. That was the beginning of the end." And
Wow, that's
you
interesting.
you can kind of see that too, right? Because like the major action movies these days, I mean, most of them are superhero movies, right? Where like the main stars are the property, more so than the actors. And then I
Yeah,
guess
no
I
one
mean I
gives a
guess this
fuck about Daniel Radcliffe. Everybody just everybody just wants to see Harry
See Harry
Potter.
Potter. Exactly, exactly. So, like, outside of, like, Keanu as John Wick in the Fast and the Furious movies, there's just not really a lot of ones that are just, like, action movie with these stars in it, Like, those are the main ones, and even then, they're not as, like, young as, you know, um, Stallone and Arnold were in the '80s, I don't think. So,
It's
it's
because
interesting.
genre film has won. It was
Mhm,
like I think I've heard some quote, I'm just paraphrasing here, but Robert Englund, the guy that plays Freddy Krueger,
mhm,
he said something like something to the effect of like whenever he was first starting to work in movies, like horror and fantasy and everything, we got like the worst lots. They were like
mhm,
considered B movie schlock. And a lot of it was for sure. But then people started to slowly figure this out. And he said that like now look at it, like that's the main thing.
mhm,
It's all about genre movie, which is horror, fantasy, sci-fi, superhero stuff. You know what I mean?
mhm.
So yeah, like again, we say it all the time, but the nerds won. At least we're winning now.
Yeah.
There'll probably be a day when the AI overlords decide something different for us, but for
Then we
right
all
now
lose.
we're on a roll. Yeah, I know,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah. For sure. So, Stallone doesn't seem to hold this against the character, however, considering what was said in the Dead End documentary. And then in a later interview, this might have been a Reddit AMA, but he apparently was asked about, like, hey, like Frank Miller said you would be a great Batman in Dark Knight Returns. How do you feel about that? And Stallone said that he was open to it, found it intriguing, and liked the idea of asking, at that age, like, do you still have fire in the gut? Do you still have the desire to do this? That type of thing. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Stallone also expressed interest in the Punisher as well. But I
Mhm.
mean, that's his buddy Dolph's part, as far as I'm concerned, from that era. But
Yeah.
uh, Stallone did, of course, get to be part of comic book movies thanks to James Gunn. He's in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, and he's
Yes.
King Shark in the Suicide Squad, and maybe he'll be King Shark again. Who knows? But
His defining role. His but James Gunn would turn that into something so incredible, I feel like.
monsters, nom nom. Yeah.
He'd make us cry at a King Shark movie.
So, Stallone does actually get to play a superhero coming out of retirement in the Amazon movie Samaritan. So that might be the closest we get to seeing him in a Dark Knight Returns type of thing. But yeah, that's one of the almost Batman I did not include because I just forgot about it because I was only thinking about like major productions. But yeah, that was pretty intense. But the other actor who announced himself last week after we premiered the episode was Michael Rosenbaum. So we didn't really get to cover almost Batman in terms of voice acting because I didn't really find a lot of like it's not like Kevin Conroy like in BTAS famously Mark Hamill replaced Tim Curry for Joker, but there wasn't really like a guy cast before Conroy came in. I don't even know who else auditioned at that time for it. I'm sure there were name actors who did it. I just don't have any information about that. But Rosenbaum recently said that he auditioned for the voice of Batman in the upcoming Batman Caped Crusader show, which is cool. Rosenbaum, of course, is known for playing Lex Luthor in Smallville, and he has done a lot of voice acting across the DC animated universe and films. He was the Wally West Flash in the Justice League cartoon. And he was most recently seen in Guardians as Stallone's sidekick. So there's that other connection. as
Mm,
Martinez, and I think a lot of people kind of hope that he's going to come back as Lex Luthor in the Gunverse. I really doubt it, though. I think Gunn's just going to go completely new on everybody at this point. But Rosenbaum said he auditioned for Batman, claimed they liked his Batman, but didn't care for his Bruce Wayne. Which, I mean, to me, that's interesting because I thought it would have been the opposite. You know, he's kind of known for playing more jovial characters, voice acting wise, you know, with Wally West. So, you know, you would think his like Playboy Bruce Wayne type of thing would have just been that, and his Batman would be a little bit, you know, out of the box. But turns out they might not have liked his Bruce Wayne. Maybe they thought it was too similar to Flash. I don't know. But that's what he had said recently. So I thought that was interesting. Would love to hear what that
hmm
audition sound like because I think he's awesome. But that is those are the almost Batmen for us to add to our list. But that
Nice.
was last week's episode. This week with Chicano Batman, we ranked the different bat cycles, and Andrew, you had an idea for the bat cycle to share.
Okay, yeah. So, uh, think of this as being red for one. So this is the Akira bike. So in my opinion, what's the best bike in pop culture of all time? What I mean, if this is number one, what's number two, Ben? I can't even think of it.
I don't
Like the
know,
Adam West
maybe.
Bat Cycle, I
Yeah,
guess.
maybe the bat cycle actually.
The Bat Cycle itself, like one of the
Mhm.
iterations, probably the Adam West one, and honestly, the because of the showcase, the Dark Knight one was
Probably,
pretty
yeah,
good.
yeah,
But
those two.
I think, you don't even have to be an anime fan probably to agree that the Akira bike, the anime, the late 80s anime, you know, that's like the most popular bike of all time.
Mhm.
And, you know, I agree. It's it's like the most awesome bike in fucking pop culture history, in my opinion. So when we did I wanted to say this, but I guess I forgot to say it on air. But this would be my ideal bat cycle would be this. What I did was I Googled black Akira bike, and of course I found it because it's Google.
Mhm.
This guy Ryan Hong seems to have made it. Uh, it looks like pretty much the same except it's black. I don't
Mhm.
think there's any other changes really. Um, it makes it more realistic too, of course. But uh, and like if you can imagine this bike here, change it up a little bit, add some more bat scallops here and there,
Mhm.
bat wing motif, kind of like how on the Matt Reeves one has the bat scallop coming out, like people were joking like it would poke his chest or whatever, like
Yep.
around the handlebars.
Mhm.
Something like that, incorporate that into this design, because you gotta switch it up a little bit, right? But
Yeah.
I would base it heavily on this,
Mhm.
and, maybe even make it, like, blue and gray too, like, even
Ooh.
more toyetic,
Mhm.
because this black is cool, and it depends on what Batman himself looks like going forward in the DCU,
Mhm.
but but, like, I do maybe 'cause I'm just attached to I'm attached to the red with Akira. The Akira one is, like, it just that red just really pops, man, and the stickers that it
Mhm.
has on it and shit, it's just he's from a biker gang, essentially, like a type of Hell's Angels in Japan. So, like that it has that kind of vibe. Batman wouldn't have that kind of vibe, but like yeah, what I'm trying to say is like the red pops, the black pops a little less, but you kind of need the black.
Mhm.
If it's a certain kind of Batman, and if it's not that type, then the blue and gray, which would be ridiculously toyetic, and I think would be really perfect, especially if it's a blue and gray Batman going forward in the
Mhm.
Gunverse. So, um, I to me, it's this is like if I was directing, it's just like this would be my first note. Like put make it like this, but more bat-like, and put bat symbols on it, where it needs to go. Like like especially if it's all black like this, then you need the yellow one, right? Well, I guess it'd be yellow anyway, but like that yellow symbol
Mhm.
would just totally pop
It would, yeah.
on this fucking bike, man. It's
I could
just
see that
so
on a
cool.
toy.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, dude, this is really it. And Jordan Peele like copied this with in Nope, like the Akira
Mhm.
slide. And
Mhm.
fucking Batman, the animated series did this with Robin.
Yep.
Yeah, we prepared this.
And the
So
Batman '89 comic right here.
and the Batman 89 comic. So this is actually look, it's an homage. It's been kind of been homage left and right, but I mean, my God, dude, it's I mean, put a special thanks in the credits or something, you know. But like that slide is just so iconic. I don't think that a cycle sliding like that with the camera dolly, oh no, a crane up like that would be trademarked by the anime company. You know what I mean? I think it's
Mhm.
fine, especially
I
if the
think so
bike
too.
design itself is different and the suit's different.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I would, dude, I know it's been done probably a lot at this point, but I would do that too. I would just add that scene.
Yeah.
Imagine Batman doing that with his cape, because that's another thing. You know, Kaneda, I think, yeah, it's Kaneda on the bike. It's been a while since I've seen the movie, but Kaneda on the bike, um, he's fucking, he doesn't have a cape, you know? So, like,
Mhm.
that would be a really cool image. He has a cape here and the Bat and the Robin one.
Mhm.
So, it was just like that imagery would be so fucking cool, man. You know, there's really a lot they could do with this, outside of, making another awesome action showcase.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love it, dude. I think that's really the way to go. They kinda, you know, it's one of the few balls they dropped on the Muschietti's design. Everything else looking
Mhm.
pretty fucking awesome. Like, I can just totally imagine this kinda bike in Muschietti's world. You know,
Yeah.
imagine that Batwing with this Batcycle. That's just like the perfect combo, dude. That would be so
Mhm.
cool.
Yeah, definitely. Like you said, just add the bat motif to this. And yeah, for our fan artists out there, like, hey, use this as a base. Show us what you got. Let's see a bat cycle version of this.
Yeah, and we'll link this in the description, this Ryan Hong link as well, so you guys can go straight to the source. And Ryan Hong, if you're out there, you know, let's talk. I mean, just to
Perfect.
make some fan art together.
Yes.
That's all.
Hmm. Awesome.
So yeah.
So yeah, last thing before we go behind the paywall and explore the other Bat family Bat cycles, because that's we're going to be ranking the other Bat cycles that have been in live action that the rest of the Bat family have been driving. But we're going to go on spring break for a little bit. The main
Oh
show
yeah.
will be out for a little bit, but we will be back the week that the Flash releases. Actually, the next episode we record will probably get released on June 12th. I would think.
Full disclosure, guys. I see my family twice a year. Once
Hmm.
in the middle of the year. I usually see them earlier than this, like early spring. But I'm going to go see my family. Take a little bit of a vacation. And then we're just going to take a little bit of a break, and then my other break that I take is in Christmas. So there's that is Christmas and New Year's. So and this gives Ben a little bit of a break to from all the research and shit.
Hmm.
So we'll be back and better than ever. But yeah, just a heads up on that one.
Yeah, when you tell me you're on vacation, I'm just like, all right, well, that's my vacation too, because I'm like, ah, cool. So I'm obviously cool with it. So yeah, we'll be back for the main show stuff on June 12th. Patreon will let you guys know what we got in mind for that. But until then, I guess we got one more main show episode coming out on Monday that we're really looking forward for you guys to see, and then we'll be on a bit of a break after that. So. And I think
Okay.
that's about it.
All right, everybody. We'll see you behind the paywall. Oh, yeah. If you want the rest of this episode, please go to patreon.com/superhero stuff pod. The rest of this episode can be found behind, at the $5 tier. uh, and then you can binge us for a month if you want 170 plus episodes for $5. If you can get all that done in a month, bravo. And yeah, that's it. We will see you behind the paywall now.